Elias Vance tried to hold onto himself, onto the idea of a human, a name, a heartbeat, but it was like gripping smoke while being carried through a storm of stars. His identity stretched thin across an incomprehensible horizon of existence. Yet the voice, the presence remained, not outside him, not inside him, but as him. It vibrated through what he now understood as space-time, resonating like a low cosmic chord. You are the seed. The words struck him like a gravitational pulse. In their wake, he sensed truths that bypassed language entirely. A seed of what? A god? A universe? A rebirth? He pushed the question outward, struggling to separate self from everything else. The cosmos answered with a slow tidal rumble. A universe ends, another requires a soul. You are that soul. Elias felt himself trembleth. Trembling was still something he could do. The idea was impossible, absurd. The universe didn't need souls. Humans did. Humans invented souls because they feared the dark. But the voice came again, patient and vast. Existence is cyclical. Matter is cyclical. Life is cyclical. Consciousness must also be cyclical. When the last sentient mind dies, one must carry the memory of all that came before. One must become the next beginning. Elias felt the truth snap into place, not through logic, but through instinct. He wasn't chosen. He wasn't special. He was simply the last spark in a dying flame, and the universe needed something, anything, to ignite the next one. But he felt no comfort in that. A universe, with him at its core. He reached for his memories, desperate to ground himself. He remembered rain on a window, the taste of coffee, the worn books in his father's study, a woman's laughter, soft, warm, distant now, the final days, the empty skies, the silence of extinction. Those memories flickered against the vast cosmic dark, like fragile candles. He clung to them. Suddenly the cosmic presence surged, pressing against him like a tidal wave of starlight. Your memories are the blueprint. Your emotions are the primordial forces. Your fears will shape darkness. Your hope will give birth to light. Elias felt galaxies forming in the wake of his confusion, nebulae twisting into being as his doubts multiplied. His fear was literally creating the dark. His hope was sparking stellar nurseries. His grief rippled like cosmic background radiation. Every emotion he had ever felt was imprinting itself on a new universe waiting to explode into existence. I'm not ready, Elias thought, though thought now had the weight of supernova. The cosmos answered with terrifying finality. Readiness is irrelevant. You are already expanding. And it was true. He felt it. His consciousness stretched farther and farther, thinning yet growing, like a balloon of space-time being inflated from within. The boundary of what he was now reached, past galaxies long dead, past the cold remains of cosmic structures that had collapsed eons ago. He was expanding toward a point beyond which he could not return. A moment was coming, a moment when he would no longer be Elias Vance, when the last fragment of humanity would dissolve. A moment known only once per eternity, the final breath before the next Big Bang. Elias felt the universe's universe stretching, expanding, swelling with energy. Every heartbeat he once had was now a vibration across cosmic strings. Every breath became a gravitational wave echoing into the void. But the more he expanded, the more he felt something slipping. Himself. Memories he had clung to, faces, places, moments began to blur like ink dissolving in water. It terrified him more than death ever had. No, stop, he thought, pushing desperately against the expansion with a will that was now strong enough to bend galaxies. I don't want to forget. A soft rumble passed through space-time like a cosmic exhale. Memory cannot survive transformation. Only essence survives. No, Elias pushed again, more fiercely. I am Elias Vance. I lived. I loved. I am not just fuel. For a moment, the expansion slowed, as if the entire cosmos hesitated. Then the presence spoke again, gentler this time, like starlight filtering through dust. You are not being erased. You are being translated. A human cannot be a universe, but a human soul can become the foundation of one. The words sank into him like gravity. Translation, not destruction. But it still meant change. He sensed his memories stretching thin, threads snapping in silence. He reached for them with cosmic hands he didn't have, grabbing, clinging, fighting. He remembered his mother's voice, gone. The smell of rain on warm soil, slipping the faces of the last survivors he once walked with, breaking apart. The woman whose laughter once warmed him, he held that one, clutched it like a dying star. But even that memory trembled. Please. His thought trembled across dimensions. Don't take her, the presence answered, not with dominance, but with something he never expected. She is why you were chosen. Her memory is your core. Love is the only force strong enough to survive creation. Elias felt something ignite deep within him, a pulse, a warmth, a singularity of emotion that refused to die. It glowed brighter than galaxies, hotter than supernova. She was my universe, Elias whispered into the void. She will be your first star. And then everything began to change. The sensations intensified, his thoughts crystallized into quantum constants, his emotions folded into fundamental forces. His final human attachments became the scaffolding around spacetime. He felt his last human fear evaporate. He felt his last human tear dissolve into the cosmic background glow. He felt the boundaries of Elias Vance thin to a shimmering veil. Soon, even his name would fall away. He wasn't being unmade, he was being rewritten. His consciousness pulsed brighter, brighter still, until Elias could no longer tell where he ended and the cosmos began. He was now a tensioner, vast pressure building toward something inevitable, a point of impossible density, a moment before birth. He knew what was coming, the collapse, the compression, the unmaking that births all things. He braced for it, trembling through every quirk of his dissolving identity. And then everything fell inward. When the last human heart stopped, the universe expected silence. Instead, something woke up. Elias Vance had always wondered what the end of humanity would feel like, though he never imagined he'd be the one to experience it. For years, humanity had dwindled, swallowed by wars, famine, and an ancient cosmic sickness no medicine could touch. Cities collapsed into dust. Satellites drifted dead across the sky. The world had become a mausoleum lit by a dying sun. Elias had lived long enough to bury the final strangers, the final friends, the final voices that once filled the world. When his own time came, he felt no fear, only a strange, heavy loneliness that pressed on his ribs like gravity. His vision dimmed, his breath weakened. He lay on the cracked earth of what once was a vibrant meadow and listened to the wind whisper over ruins. This is it, he thought, the last heartbeat of my species. Then darkness, not a gentle drifting darkness, but a void so absolute it felt like a boundary around his very soul. Elias expected nothingness, the silent end of consciousness, but instead, he felt something, a vibration, faint like a distant hum, then a pressure, not on his chest, but around his entire being, as if he were dissolving into a sea too vast to understand. He tried to breathe, but he had no lungs. He tried to open his eyes, but he had no eyelids. His thoughts carried into the emptiness, moving like ripples through an endless ocean. Where am I? The question didn't echo, it unfolded, expanded, spread outward like a shockwave. Suddenly Elias sensed matter swirling clouds of particulate essence, whispers of gravity, filaments of energy stretching across unimaginable distances. They responded to him not as an intruder but as a command. He tried to move, and galaxies trembled. He tried to scream, and stars were born. His consciousness struggled against this overwhelming expanse. Every direction was every direction. Every moment was every moment. He had no form, yet he contained form. He had no mind, yet he commanded the fabric of existence. There was no body, no heartbeat, no breath, no blood, but there was power. A terrifying, limitless power. What am I? He tried to ask. The answer came not as words, but as a surge like the universe inhaling. You are what comes next. The voice wasn't a voice. It was gravity, radiation, time, and the memory of everything that had ever lived. Elias felt himself dissolving into the cosmos, but also rising above it. He sensed the universe's age, its fatigue, the cracks in spacetime like wrinkles on ancient skin. The cosmic sickness that had ended humanity was only a symptom. The true illness was universal entropy, and Elias somehow had become the cure. His consciousness was stretching, expanding, accelerating toward a state he didn't yet understand. Stars flickered inside his thoughts, nebulae fluttered like nerves. His memories were merging with quantum currents. He was no longer dying, he was forming, becoming something vast, something inevitable, something that, in time, would explode into creation. Elias Vance, the last human, felt the first spark of what would one day be known as the next Big Bang. Everything collapsed, not like a star imploding into a black hole. No, that was far too small, too simple. This collapse was total. It was the folding of all existence into a single point, a compression of all thought, all memory, all possibility. Elias felt himself and the universe that was forming inside him shrinking, until there was no space left to shrink at all. He felt every particle in the old universe fusing into him. Forgotten galaxies, ancient civilizations, the ashes of dead stars, all of it rushing inward like a cosmic tide. He wasn't just at the center of the collapse. He was the collapse. The pressure was indescribable. If he had lungs, they would have been crushed. If he had bones, they would have been powder. If he had a mind in the human sense, it would have shattered. Instead, what he felt was purpose. The presence that had spoken to him throughout the transformation now whispered again, its tone no longer vast and distant, but intimate, coiled around him like a warm gravitational field. This is the final constriction. When the old universe dies, you must hold its last breath. Elias felt himself compress further until he was smaller than atoms, smaller than quarks, smaller than the very idea of size. His identity trembled like a candle flame in a hurricane. Why me? The question was faint, a flicker, the last remnant of a human mind resisting dissolution. The answer came like a heartbeat echoing through void. Because you did not let go. When all of humanity fell into silence, you still loved, you still hoped. The universe needs a heart like that to begin again. Elias felt that truth settle into him. His love, his grief, his desperate clinging to memory. These had not been weaknesses, they were catalysts. The pressure increased. The cosmic core, his core was now so dense that time itself choked, slowed, buckled. Every second felt like an age. Every age felt like a second. Reality wavered on the edge of a new definition. He could feel the universe to be forming inside his consciousness like a dream ready to be spoken aloud. He saw flashes of what would come. Infant stars swirling like fireflies. Cosmic oceans of gas, shimmering with newborn light. Worlds that would rise from molten chaos. Life forming from dust. Eyes opening under alien skies. Civilizations building stories out of starlight. And somewhere, in all of that, a faint flicker of a memory, a laugh, a smile. The presence whispered. Her light will be the first constant in the new cosmos. A law of compassion imprinted in the fabric of reality. Elias felt tears he no longer had. The pressure built to an impossible breaking point. The core trembled with infinite tension. Existence screamed inward. He felt the moment approaching, the singular instant where everything would reverse. The silence before the greatest explosion in all of eternity. And in that silence, the presence breathed. When you break, you will become everything. The pressure reached its absolute limit. Elias felt existence tighten around him like a clenched fist, compressing thought, energy, and the remains of the old universe into a singular point of infinite density. The sensation wasn't pain. Pain was too small a word. It was the feeling of being everything and nothing at once. A paradox wrapped around the core of creation. Time stuttered. Space crumpled. Reality held its breath. And then Elias broke, not shattered, not destroyed. He burst. A soundless eruption of pure creation tore through the void, an explosion so vast that space itself bloomed outward like fire unleashed from eternity. Elias felt himself expand in every direction at once. He was no longer a point, no longer a consciousness confined with intention. He was light, the first light. It streamed from him in waves of impossible brilliance, racing outward faster than understanding, blazing pathways for galaxies not yet formed. His thoughts became luminosity, his emotions became photons, his memories scattered across the newborn cosmos like glowing seeds. He felt warmth for the first time since his human death, warmth so immense it forged the building blocks of matter itself. Hydrogen, helium, the primordial whispers of creation. Every emotion he had clung to, hope, fear, longing, became laws of physics. Gravity flowed from his sense of connection, entropy from his acceptance of endings. Time emerged from his desire to move forward. But above all, beyond all, love shaped the light. It shimmered through the expanding universe like a hidden symmetry, an imprint that would one day guide life toward compassion, toward unity, toward awe. In the heart of the newborn cosmos, Elias sensed something forming, something radiant, something familiar. A star, his first star. It ignited with a brilliance unlike any other, burning with a warmth that echoed a single memory, a laugh, a smile. A woman who had once been his entire world. The presence whispered, softer now, almost fading, this is her, the constant you chose. Her memory will light the first sky. Elias felt the star like a heartbeat. His heartbeat. The universe continued to expand, vast, young, full of promise. Matter swirled into clouds, clouds into clusters, clusters into the early dominoes of galaxies. Space stretched into the blankness like a canvas painted by instinct and sentiment. Elias drifted through it, or yet he was not drifting. He was woven through every atom, every force, every trembling oscillation of newborn quantum foam. He was not a creator in the mythic sense. He was the medium through which creation expressed itself. A universe built from memory, emotion, and the final breath of a dying human species. He felt, faintly, the first fluctuations of dark matter, the first dance of baryonic gas, the first gravitational wells forming like wells of curiosity. And then he felt something else, a presence he hadn't heard since before the collapse. The next phase begins. You have given birth to light. Now you must learn to see through it. The whisper trembled like an echo fading into the cosmic background, and Elias realized he was not finished becoming. He had only taken his first breath as a universe. Elias drifted across the newborn cosmos not as a traveler, but as the cosmos itself. Every forming star was a spark along his nerves. Every swirling nebula was a thought unfolding. Every gravitational ripple, every tremor of dark matter, every newborn photon was part of the same symphony he now conducted simply by existing. But something was changing. He was beginning to see, not with eyes those were long gone but through a perception woven into every quark and cosmic string. His awareness sharpened, growing more intricate as the universe aged by seconds that felt like centuries. Galaxies spun like blooming flowers. Matter cooled and condensed. The first heavy elements appeared as stars lived, died, and scattered their ashes. He felt it all and understood none of it in a human way. Yet he recognized emotions mirrored in physics. The collapse of a dying star felt like sorrow. The bright ignition of a new one felt like hope. The gravitational pull between galaxies felt like longing. His universe was emotional because he had been emotional. Creation carried his fingerprints. Still, a question lingered inside him like a faint ember. Was he alone? The presence, the cosmic guide that had spoken to him throughout the transition had grown quiet. Fainter with every expansion, as if its purpose was nearly complete. Elias reached outward, across the expanding cosmos, searching for it. At last, the voice returned not as a booming force, but as a whisper threaded through the background radiation. You are never alone. You are connected to all you create. Elias sensed something, then something small, fragile, forming on the surface of a cooling planet orbiting a young star. Not intelligent life. Not yet. But the first stirrings of chemistry that would lead there. He focused, watching through the motions of atoms and the dance of molecules as something resembling a protocell flickered into existence. It wasn't alive, not truly, but it wanted to be, and Elias felt a shock of recognition. It wanted to survive. It wanted to grow. It wanted to become more. A familiar spark, one he had carried as a human and now carried as a cosmic burned inside that primitive droplet of potential. The presence whispered, "It begins as you began, with a desire to exist, a desire to love." Elias watched it, nurtured it, held it gently within the laws of physics he had unknowingly shaped. A universe cannot love its children the way humans do, but he felt something close. A cosmic tenderness, a guardianship. Time surged forward. Stars aged. Galaxies drifted. Worlds formed and shattered and formed again. And life, true life, finally emerged. Not human, not yet, but aware. Consciousness flickered like candles scattered across the cosmic ocean. And when the first intelligent mind looked up at the night sky, filled with wonder, Elias felt it. They were looking at him, at the stars born from his memories, at the light shaped by his love, at a universe that had once been a man. The presence whispered one last time, fading like a gentle exhale. This is your purpose, to remember them, and to be remembered by what you create. And then it was gone. Elias was alone, yet surrounded by everything. The last human had died, then woke up as the universe itself. And the universe would never forget the humanity that gave it birth.